So today's video is going to be broken up into two parts, which you can use the chapters feature if you want to skip ahead to one part or check out one more so than the other. That can be found on the timeline of the video bar. But with season 1 coming up here in just about a week and a half now at this point, we've started to get our first couple of teasers, but also some more information about what's actually going to be coming here, or seemingly coming within Black Ops Cold War and season 1 that actually is kind of game-changing, stuff we haven't seen happen before in any other previous season for Call of Duty. So that's partially what we're going to be discussing here today. Some stuff that Call of Duty is seeing for the first time here, at least in a post-launch setting, that has some fundamental implications to it. So as we go along, let me know your thoughts down below. What do you guys think here of what you want to see out of season 1? Any changes in particular you want to see? Any additions you're hoping to see made as well? Whatever it is, let me know. As well, if you are new to the channel, do be sure to hit the subscribe button. We're on that road to 400,000 subscribers, and we'll keep you up to date with all things Black Ops Cold War, Warzone, and anything COD related. So if you're interested in joining the community, I'd love to have you. But before we do, I want to talk to you guys about something that actually is pretty interesting in relation to season 1, that being our first actual teasers. So Friday afternoon, I ended up getting a wrapped package, not marked as if just a dropped package, clandestine in nature, if you will, that was specifically marked for reveal of today at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Now, I'd be lying if I said this didn't catch me by surprise when I got it, but it turns out when I opened it, I ended up getting a handful of things here in this package. The big piece being a radio with a specific frequency labeled on it, which when you dial into that, there was a window of time in which it played the following testing tone. Now that frequency, the seeming numbers station broadcast, if you will, should be an indication as to what we'll see as of tomorrow when we get some updates for things that we'll talk about in just a second. There is also a paper notebook outlined for me as espresso in it, containing a simple URL, the likes of which you can actually go to right now. It's 673763436741.com, though I think actually it has been taken offline now, going back and editing this due to some people digging through and potentially spoiling what's actually a part of this little scavenger hunt I'm sure will go on here. But you can enter in any username and it'll bring you to the current countdown, marking the website to be available at 7 a.m. Pacific time and 10 a.m. Eastern and elsewhere in the world. So seemingly our first little Easter egg hunt for season 1's DLC content will be starting as of tomorrow. But along with that stuff came additional items such as a large bolt, I don't have any idea what that's for at the moment, and a map of frequencies around the world for radio. One interesting part though is about that map in with the global scale of it is that there's a burn mark interestingly situated off in the Pacific for me, but I've seen others have burn marks elsewhere. So unless it's just an aesthetic they're trying to add to do some random stuff to make it look cool, this might actually have some significance. So we'll have to wait and see how that works out. Other people I've seen with these packages ended up getting a sequence of numbers as if a number station decoder, but I can't seem to find that in my package. So maybe I got unlucky with that one. Maybe it's not for everybody. I don't know just yet, but all of this seems rather random, but it looks to be, again, setting up some lore behind everything in the storyline so far for MP, but also giving a direct link to some of the content that we'll be seeing within season 1. Now, if this is a multi-day thing, I just don't know yet, but we do know that that time frame for when it kicks off is tomorrow at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern. Now, if you want to check this out further, myself and other creators who ended up getting these viral marketing pieces will all be live at that time trying to figure it out. So if you want to stop by and check it out, I'll be live over on my Twitch channel. That link can be found in the description below. But anyways, that's a little preface here. Our first teasers for season 1 are now here and going to be going on as of tomorrow, and perhaps even more on top of everything as time progresses throughout the next week and a half or so. But as for what we'll be seeing for the first time here within Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War and COD history, really comes down to something we learned about from Tony Flame, game designer at Treyarch here, and one of the leads in terms of the front-facing side of the studio on social media, kind of giving the bump of the information of season 1 being delayed but also still coming. He ended up quote tweeting the Call of Duty tweet announcing that, saying, "Cold War guns and attachments in Warzone? Oh yes. The best of both worlds come together in season 1 with cross-game progression to boot. Expect new weapons, score streaks, maps including raid, game modes, blueprints, operators, and more." Now, for the most part, a lot of that seems nothing out of the ordinary. Of course, we get new weapons, new maps, new game modes, blueprints, and all, and we have for basically every DLC season that we've had, and going all the way back to the first DLC packs. That's always included new maps. But the big thing that we haven't seen before is tucked right in the middle of that: new score streaks. We haven't seen anything in terms of post-launch score streaks ever added into Call of Duty, which makes this something incredibly interesting to consider. Now, we have talked about here on the channel the things we've seen data mined across the new weapons, the new maps, the modes, and things like that, but score streaks I don't believe we've touched on, because what we actually have is a handful of different streaks that are not in the game currently. Those including the flamethrower, the death machine, the hand cannon, the strafe run, the harp, and the dogs or canine unit. Right now, I do believe that it's rumored that the dogs will be the Season 1 Scorestreak DLC, but that of course has not been confirmed in any way, shape, or form, but that's the current rumor. As for the other streaks here, the death machine, that can be seen within one of the campaign missions, as with the hand cannon, it's available in the bunker within the mission Desperate Measures. The harp is going to be the VSAT, and the strafe run and flamethrower are kind of self-explanatory. Now, some of these you actually may recognize because they were data mined well before the launch of Black Ops Cold War, but also they were included within some screenshots and what you may have actually seen in-game as some of that initial intel reports that show up on the loading screens for each of the maps. That mentioning things like the death machine and the hand cannon being available out of the care package, but they're not there. So up until this tweet, it could have been considered that this was something that was maybe cut from the game, and those initial intel reports just didn't quite make it to be pulled from the game in time, that they showed up showing faulty information. But that actually might not be the case, because we have these score streaks, and with the introduction of score streaks as DLC, that's something that makes perfect sense then at that point. But the more interesting part to me is the fact that we have 6 streaks data mined from the game files before the game ever even launched, and that's on par with 6 seasons that we've seen throughout Modern Warfare, and similarly within Black Ops 4 and the seasons introduced there. So with these content drops, that very easily could mean that we get one new score streak every single season, and so therefore kind of keeping some fundamentals introduced as time progresses throughout the main year of content support. Now, interestingly, this also isn't the only thing that we've seen data mined in terms of a fundamental level that previously we could have considered to be cut content, because while not explicitly stated to be coming by Tony Flame, as he mentioned with score streaks, there actually are 2 perks that have been found within the game files data mined that seemingly never made the cut. So whether or not those come as a post-launch content drop, or if they actually were cut, we don't know just yet, but it's interesting to consider, because of course fundamentals have never really been introduced up until this point post-launch. But one of these perks looks like lightweight. The second one is kind of indiscernible if you ask me. I can't think of what that could be off the top of my head, but I don't think it's too far out of the realms of possibilities to consider that maybe these come as well, if not in Season 1, at a later point in time, where similar to the basic trainings introduced within the DLC drops within Call of Duty World War II, maybe these add some more fundamental backing as well that introduce more offerings for perks within Black Ops Cold War. Now, that's something that's interesting to consider, but I guess the big question that comes down to me now is that why this year? Why are we seeing these fundamental things being introduced right now, potentially in season DLC contents? Well, the first idea, I guess, which is the more optimistic viewpoint of it, is that they could just be trying to change things up and shake up content distribution and make things more lively as time progresses throughout that main year of support. Make the game feel truly fresh as time progresses. COD Mobile, I think, does that very well. They add fundamentals throughout each season, and with it, that means the base game is refreshed also. It's not just some content offerings of new maps you can play on here that are in rotation. It won't be everything that you interact with on a fundamental level. But the second option, I guess, is perhaps a little bit more cynical of an idea, in which this games as a service trend hit perfectly to cover up a less than complete build of a game that has been launched. Now, we saw these streaks and such data mined from the beta files, so it's not like the framework wasn't there for them. They were obviously planned, and perks, we don't really see these added in much of because of how much they can change the meta. But when you consider how little has been launched as opposed to other bases of the games, even games that in the past may have made you raise your eyebrow, Cold War is very limited in what its offering has. And across all of the modes of 6v6, the new return of Gunfight, Fireteam, and all, the content offerings for Season 1 look to about double the content at launch, minus things like weaponry. We're obviously not going to get 29 more weapons, but you get the point here with that. So with such a big post-launch offering, it almost feels weird to consider it as a normal DLC launch, but rather a huge fundamental expansion. In some regard, this theory I don't really have a problem with, given that this game was kind of in shambles developmentally, if rumors and reports that came out of the studios are to be believed. I mean, Treyarch apparently jumped on and rebranded it to make everything outside of the campaign while still working on Black Ops 4. Then to take all of that into consider that this was a less than normal development by all means amidst working from home and the global pandemic going on, the deck was certainly stacked against Treyarch, and in that case, I can't fault Treyarch. They did what they could with the time, but I do fault the suits at Activision for not delaying the game and giving it the proper time to bake and become a finished product. But again, that's if this is actually the reason why we're getting these things added in as we go along. But alas, here we are with some potentially COD history on our hands, either getting fundamental expansions that could be the result of either just trying to keep the game fresh as the year goes on, or that we're testing the game in a live environment as it's still being completed. Will we ever fully know? Likely not, but at least we get some cool stuff to say that we experienced that we never did before in COD history. So that's kind of where I'm at here with this one. I want to talk to you guys about that because the idea of having new score streaks and potentially new perks is incredibly interesting to me. But I guess time will tell here with this and what we can see coming in not only Season 1, but also the future for Black Ops Cold War. So that's where we're going to wrap it up. I would love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of this here? Of course, out of the score streaks you mentioned, what are you looking forward to the most? I personally am hoping to see the HARP come time soon, or that high altitude reconnaissance plane, aka the VSAT. I would love to see that come within Black Ops Cold War, but what do you guys hope to see? Let me know your thoughts down below, but hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to drop a like down below, and of course, if you're new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Black Ops Cold War, Warzone, and anything COD related. We'll keep you up to date with all of it. So if you're interested, hit that subscribe button, and if you also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected outside of YouTube. Proactive on both those. If you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. That said, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care, and peace.